Hey, what's up, guys? This is like really long overdue. I just wanted to get through the second part of the clock shavings book. I finished it a bit ago, but I highlighted some things that I wanted to go over. So I kind of ended, I believe, with Tracy conjuring Cain and Baphomet, which were supposedly one aspect of the same being. This is really crazy stuff. First I wanted to talk about her briefly. So she ended up, this is Tracy Twyman. We're talking about the book Clock Shavings and what she wrote about it. She ended up having some unfortunate things happen to her with one of the members of her group, where she was writing these publications. They were basically like the writings of the Grail. If any of you have ever gotten into the Grail information, Holy Blood, Holy Grail, if any of you have read that book. So she and her husband were putting out this publication. She had a friend who she was writing a book with who did some really nasty stuff. I won't get too much into it, but basically she had ended up putting, asking Baphomet to help her put a spell on this person. And I think one other person that that a man that helped this guy put out a book without her, basically plagiarized her work that she worked really hard for. The guy was a complete narcissist, but at the end of the day, when you start to get involved with these beings and you feel that power come over you, and she realized that this isn't good, because she was planning basically to have this guy cursed, murdered, really. And so she realized, she thought better of it. She was just like, what am I getting myself into with these beings? And she like packed it up and left Colorado, went back to Oregon. But she was really deep into this stuff and was in the circle of people who do these rituals and just really getting involved deeply. But back to the book, some interesting things. This is, if you can see it, that is the Baphomet sigil. And then this is the sigil of Adam and Eve. Okay. Now, if you see Baphomet in the middle, right, you see Samael and Lilith. Okay. So they, according to these texts, were forever locked in sexual union, and the male, Samael, was castrated because if they were allowed to reproduce, they would destroy the earth. Now, what I've researched and what I've come up with is that Samael is just a positive, I don't know how, version of the demiurge. That is what he's believed to be in some of the Gnostic texts. Now, what the other thing that came forward was that the reason that they were using, the Templars were using this head of John the Baptist to conjure Baphomet was they use the head, right? But then they do these rituals with these egregores where it's not John the Baptist they're actually channeling, right? It's his head, but they're channeling Baphomet. It never really explains in this book why Cain and Baphomet are the kind of the same person in just different aspects. But I'm starting to see, with what I just showed you, right, that all these beings have multiple names and they have different aspects of each other. I did, by the way, start to read Genuflect. I had stopped reading it because it is really, really tough. I will finish it. It's her only work of fiction. And it's her way, it was her way, I believe, to put some of this nasty, nasty stuff that these Luciferians do in their rituals to children. You know, a lot of us have been researching this stuff for a while. And we know, you know, the basics of it. Children are tortured. They're right in the whole, no, my chrome refrigerator. But the book kind of gets into really what's done and why it's done. So that brings me to the cult of Cybele, whatever you want to call it, and the cult of Mithras, which kind of were sort of meshed together. So if you don't know, if you've ever listened to Amon Hillman, who I think is one of them, if you want to know the truth, but I still never throw the baby out with the water. And I had first heard about these cults through listening to him, but she gets really deep into it in this book. And so Cybele, who was a goddess, right, gave birth to a son, didn't want it, gave it up. When she saw the child later, she fell in love with it, and it's gross. Had a sexual relationship with it. And when the child became a man, the child was going to be married to a woman, and apparently she became filled with rage and jealousy, put some kind of spell on her own child, and drove him mad, and he castrated himself, and he bled to death and died. And what did she do? She brought him back to life. Yeah. So there are people, I mean, this was a Roman cult where these young priests in this cult, on the day, it's so sick because it's like March 24th, and then like the celebration is like March 25th, which is my birthday, by the way, which really kind of grossed me out. And then, so these like priests, these young priests would work themselves up into a frenzy where they would allow these, they would become possessed by Addis, who was Cybele's son, who was castrated, and they would castrate themselves in like these rituals. And Tracy Twyman shows some pictures, see if I can find it, of the Templars where they have their legs crossed. So anyway, if you read Genuflect, it gets a little deeper into that, as far as what these people actually do. And anyway, let's move on. So I wanted to get into Enoch. So if you've ever read Gary Wayne's work, it's funny because I don't do religion. I do appreciate Gary Wayne's work. Okay, if you've ever read it, he really connects all the Nephilim bloodlines all the way up to the present. And the dragon bloodlines. And he talks about, he calls one Enoch, which was Cain's son, who he supposedly named a city after. And then he speaks about Enoch. We all know Enoch, right? From the book of Enoch. Walked with God, right? Fallen angels, mediator, right? So, what happened to Enoch when he walked with God? Okay, let me see if I could find. She goes into the serpents breeding with humans. They're basically dragons. I spoke about this already. The fallen angels breeding with women. They can take human form. That's what they did. And giving birth to these Nephilim monsters. But, I'm going to get back to the prison. Okay, here we go. So, Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years. And begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Okay? So, this is what happened to Enoch when he went up to heaven with God. I don't believe that's God as we know it. That's not an all-loving God. But anyway, this Enoch, whose flesh was turned into flame, his veins became fire, his eyelashes to flashes of lightning, his eyeballs to flaming torches, and whom God placed on a throne next to the throne of glory, received after this heavenly transformation the name Metatron. Now, who do, including me, and not that I ever really totally resonated with this because I was kind of like, but I know a lot of people that in the circles that I ran into when I was in the New Age, they really worshipped Metatron. Okay, that what the heck is that guy's name that came on the scene out of nowhere? Oh, he was definitely a Nephilim. He had the long face and the high cheekbones. Ishmael Perez, that guy. He was a big Archangel Metatron worshiper. So, to me, I'm not an Enoch lover, as you might have guessed. So, anyway, Enoch became an archangel or an angel who walked with God. Yeah, what's that mean to me? Another enforcer of the realm. Now, again, even Gary Wayne, Enoch, Christians, they love Enoch, right? But here we go. There is what Tracy came to realize is that, and again, I already felt this way long before I read this material, that Gary Wayne was wrong about that one, about a few things, but that for sure, that the Enoch who was of Seth's line was different from the Enoch who's from Cain's line. I don't think it was. I think Enoch who came from Cain was the same Enoch that they say came from Seth. Because Tracy also has a theory based on text that she researched, okay, that possibly Seth might have been the name of Cain before he fell, before he killed his brother and was banished to the land of Nod. So, anyway, it's just a theory. Who knows, right? My whole thing is, what I'm getting at is, at the end of the day, the most important thing is realize what these people are. Stop worshiping them. Stop with the religion. Okay? None of this is good. None of these people are good. None of these beings are good. We're the ones. We're the divine ones. Okay? The most important thing is getting out of here. But I digress. So anyway, she talks about, if you see the Masonic tracing board, okay, you have the white cube and the black cube, right? And at the end of days, these things are saying that the black cube is the dark side, the white cube is the light. Kind of like, what is the Christian, the end of days apocalypse? Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. You know, that everyone is, all the righteous will be saved and Jesus is going to make a second appearance. And, you know, I don't go along with any of that. And I'm good. Okay. I think it's just, you know, I understand that there's duality here. And of course, there's good and bad. But my thing is, it's all the same bullshit. It's all the same beings. Okay? There is no good in any of this. We were taken here as prisoners, as far as I'm concerned. Certain people, anyway, against our will. And, or there was some kind of invasion where we were taken against our will and imprisoned here in this prison planet. And that's the most important thing. Okay, so there's a redefinition of reality. Everything in the saved place is inside the cube with God. So this is the white cube. Basically, we're all going to fly off in a white cube to avoid the chaos. Now, I've been researching and watching and keeping an eye that these people, these elites, are trying to open portals to release these beings from their prisons, to bring about hell upon the earth, to open these portals. There's a lot in here about Atlas. And what are we told about Atlas? My father used to read Atlas Shrugged to me when I was a kid. My father read a lot of books to me that probably 5 and 6-year-olds shouldn't have been reading, but including Carlos Castaneda books. But Atlas is not holding Earth up. If you really do your research, you realize he's actually holding up heaven. He's separating heaven from earth. There is this big, in this material, separation of heaven. There's a reason that hell and earth and heaven, like, it's all needs to be separate. Or why we can't see into those realms, at least not all the time. And then I wanted to find, let me see where it is. There is a quote in here that talks about, you know I've gotten into how I won't allow, so this is the Masonic tracing board, right? There's the black cube and the white cube. Duality. And these pillars, right? So here it is. Now, Cain said that the fall of Atlantis is also the fall of Eden, the fall of Nod, or his fall into Nod, right? We're all part of the same events or set of events. He also said that the 10 Dohir kings, or Molochs, are the kings from the fallen land, right? So this is a fallen land that Cain gets banished to, the land of Nod, okay? It said they are the same kings from Atlantis, right? They're also the same as the 10-horned beast of the apocalypse, as described in a quote from St. John, okay? So this is what she said. I think that the flood was not just a physical deluge of water, but also a dissolving of reality into chaos. Surviving this requires an alchemical arc of safety, like the black cube or the white cube. This is what much of the arcane literature written by the initiates of the occults seem to indicate, as well as the more esoteric scriptures of Judaism and Christianity. Okay, so the Ark of Noah, the Ark of the Covenant, the Philosopher's Stone of the Alchemists. It discusses strange manuscripts of enigmatic friends. This friend's name remains a mystery, but his number is that of a famous seal. What is the seal? The Seal of Solomon. Now, there's no one that can tell me that they read the text about Solomon and can come to the conclusion that this was a, he was such a great king and wealth and this and that, and he was conjuring demons. Solomon was what he was because he was conjuring these things. Demons built the Temple of Solomon. What the heck in a million years would ever make people that are in the Abrahamic religions think this is a good thing? Why? Why would anyone ever think that any of this is good? And certainly not for us. Okay? All right. Let me see if I could find. Oh yeah, so there's some stuff in here that says Saturn is Lucifer. The Roman equivalent of Kronos, right? His son Zeus. And then, where are we at? I wanted to, oh yeah, we'll get to the ambrosia. So, there was this legend that these demons were allowed to climb up these poles, and on December 25th, they were released onto the earth. And they had until, you guessed it, January 6th to go back down the pole into hell. So, you tell me that this holiday that we celebrate is for what they say it is. It is not. Okay? Listen, I've done videos about this. I have kids, I have grandkids. No one loves Christmas more than me. Every inch of this house is decorated, when I tell you, okay? Everywhere. Even this basement that I'm in right now. Like, just nuts. I have Christmas sheets on my bed. Like, it's insane. I've always went crazy on Christmas. Tons of gifts. And now that Easter is approaching, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not buying, there, you won't see an Easter egg in here. After I've read Genuflect, and after I read this book, you won't see a fucking Easter egg in this house. Not a chance. Not in hell. Okay? God gave birth to a God, not God, a God, giving birth through their anus, an egg. It's so inverted. It's so nasty. I don't want anything to do with that. Nope. What am I going to do about Christmas? I don't know. I always said make holidays your own. Don't let them take that joy from you. I always use that line. Anne-Marie Uber always said, I won't allow them to take that joy from me. And, but I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to go about it. I feel like everything that I'm doing for these holidays is still worshiping and following their, just like they try to put, in McDonald's meat. You know, they want us to be like them. They want us to, even though they look at us like cattle, right? They want us to celebrate their holidays, to so yeah, it's just really thing. So if you talk about this other thing that I want to, if you get into the Greek myths, the gods of Olympus, they lived on ambrosia. Well, what's ambrosia? It was brought to them by a dove in a communion type wafer. Does that sound familiar? Do you know what ambrosia is? What was I just talking about? Can you guess what it is? Probably of the young. So I will just read this to you. Whew. Okay. So she talks about Saturnalia. Saturday was the Sabbath day. We know that, right? Saturnalia was the inspiration for Santa Claus, right? Because he lived near the North Pole. Plutarch says the sun only set there once every 30 days and was served by a set of demons, elves. Saturn, like Kronos, was also the Roman lord of time and carried a scythe like death. Therefore, he's clearly the inspiration of Father Time. Used in modern iconography to represent the old year on New Year's Eve, also next to a baby, the baby New Year, representing the new year. During Saturnalia, they suspended all laws. The slaves were temporarily freed. Nobody had to work. I know all about this, but anyway, this was to mimic the Golden Age, in which they believed there was a peaceful anarchy with none but so-called unrule of Saturn. There was an abundance of everything wanted, and no work was required. This was possible, like the Garden of Eden. The Golden Age was out of time, right? So there was no time during the Golden Age. Therefore, there was no death, birth, or generation. Swallowed his own children. We know Saturn ate his own kids. He did this to keep them from growing up and overthrowing him. This was the child sacrifice that purchased the peace and prosperity of the Golden Age. Right? So now, in the Greek myths, the gods of Olympus lived on ambrosia. What's ambrosia? It was brought to them by the doves. Whatever the substance is, it is what gives them immortality. Think of a Catholic church. Think of Holy Communion. Kids dress up in white. They eat wafers at their Holy Communion. I wish my family didn't participate in these horrible rituals, but I did make my Holy Communion, unfortunately, and was given the wafer, the body and blood. It says that the gods did not eat normal food. It is said specifically that because of this ambrosia, the gods had no blood in them, and therefore they could not die. Wow. Their thirsts, hence bloodless and from death exempt. As Homer said, it is said in the Iliad, instead of blood, their bodies contained a golden substance called ichor, which is toxic to humans. The angels in the third book of Enoch complained to God that he had given his secret name to someone of flesh and blood. But in the stories of the vampires, it is the drinking of the blood that gives them the eternal life. This is because it is believed that to contain the essential human life force, which being without a soul, vampires lack. Therefore, they needed to get through their dietary supplements. This is just crazy stuff. The inhabitants of the Grail King are eternally youthful, except for their gray hair. This is because they are fed the blood of the food of the Grail. In Eschenbach's version, a dove brings a communion wafer from heaven. Sound familiar? And the Grail somehow transmutes it into food that brings immortality. In most of the Grail stories, there is a mysterious banquet at the Grail Castle called Grail Service. So this special service, what is it? It's the eating of human flesh and the drinking of human blood. That's what it is. I probably shouldn't have said that it's in the video. They're probably going to take it down. It's a strange sacrificial rite in which the servants of Saturn are set out on a perilous voyage to the island, where they serve him for a period of 13 years. After that time, they have a choice of staying in this realm or returning home. Okay, so I want to talk about that really fast, too. So, there is this foreign land, right, where these initiates go. Now, think of Harry Potter, and remember how they got to Hogwarts. They had to go into a train platform that was a portal to another dimension, right, that only they can see the castle, right, where they were going to learn, right, at Hogwarts. So in this, it says, on Saturn Island, God teaches them that by communicating through apparitions and dreams, they also, how he keeps them on the island as his slaves. This is the Scholomance that Dracula attended, and the invisible college that the Rosicrucians talked about. It seems to be more than a philosophical academy, akin to the philosophic kingdom of Sir Francis Bacon's New Atlantis, where everyone lives in leisure and spends their time working out the mysteries of the universe. It is called the Unseen University. In Terry Pratchett's novels and in Harry Potter's School for Witchcraft and Wizardry, Hogwarts, accessible through a portal at an underground train station. Now, at the end of this book, she speaks about whether she's going to go to this invisible college, right? Or she's going to remain amongst the living. Now, we know that she was driven mad and I believe committed suicide. It's very weird. They kind of like scrubbed all the stuff about her death off of the internet, but her husband actually killed himself, I believe in 2012. So it's just really, really strange because it does make you wonder. But I feel like by the time she passed away, she was already coming to her senses as you're reading this book about what she was involved in. So I don't know that she went to the Invisible College. I believe that they just came for her because she knew too much and was exposing too much about these people. Especially once she wrote Genuflect. Even though it's a work of fiction, like I said, it's, she exposes a lot. So this, I just wanted to read real quick. Traveling to the school is like going to the witch's Sabbath on a fabled mountain of Brocken of German witchcraft legend. In these stories, the location is accessed by going forth by night in a drug-induced trance, ejecting your soul through the chimney in your house, then ride to the mountaintop on your magical steed, your broomstick. Right? So this is how Muhammad visited Temple Mount, Jerusalem, associated with the white stone, right? With the white stone and the black stone. Then after falling asleep on the black stone at the Kaaba, according to legend, this was his famous night journey, flying on a magical winged steed named Barak. Note that Arabic word for the night journey, which is Isra, sounds very much like Israel. I'm telling you, man, all this stuff is connected. All the religions are connected. All the religions are created by them. It's pretty crazy. There was one thing I wanted to read about the demons coming up the pole. If I could find it. So now we have Utnapishtim, she writes about, which is the Mesopotamian equivalent of Noah. So it's all the same stories, just written in different languages and different areas. But so this is the Invisible College of the Rosicrucians. I don't know if you guys can see it. So it's access through a portal, right? It's in another dimension. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is the Royal Ark with the Masonic tracing board. You can get Genuflect, by the way, PDF. What I've been doing was I tried to download it. It wouldn't allow me, but my friend has it on her Facebook page. And so I just kind of been reading it that way. I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to finish this up before I got into Genuflect. But there's some pretty awful things. You know, if you read the book, I don't want to spoil any of it for you. But like I said, it was the only way that she was able to... I believe that's probably what got her killed. Is going into very specific detail about why these rituals occur and about what happens in them. And linking directly the cults that participate in them. Yeah, so here it talks about Atlas and how he was basically separating heaven from earth. But, so he's not, Atlas is supposedly upholding earth, not heaven, but many historians believe this is just a misconception. Because the statue of God shows him holding a globe on his shoulders, it was assumed that it was earth, but it is not, right? Okay. So, I just see if I could find... So, she does go into also talking about how at one point in time there was no death, right? We didn't kill anything. We didn't kill and eat animals. I believe when we fell to the point where we got these avatar suits, these nasty meat suits that we're in, is when they started killing people and animals. And I think that we were not aware of death at that point. And it had to be a loose fest when that started to happen, and that's why it was done. So people and animals began to expire and the crops failed. When Osiris was resurrected in the underworld, his body parts were reunited on earth. Fertility came to the land. So, real quick, this is going to be a spoiler alert. You might want to shut this video off if you guys ever watch the, sorry, that's so annoying. It's the ice cream truck at God knows what time at night. The Mayfair Witches. So, in the Mayfair Witches, which is about Lasher. They call him Ashler in Scotland when she goes over to Scotland. It's her extended family, her uncle and his family, the main character in the book. And if you know the whole story, there's a demon that was attached to their family. Actually, they never say it's a demon, but you assume throughout the whole time, the first season, that this is a demon because the woman who called upon him originally was going to be sentenced to death for witchcraft, and she never did anything wrong. she was actually just helping people. And she was not practicing anything dark. But when they were going to kill her, she called upon this Lasher guy. And he stayed with her family from the 17th century, from the 1600s on, and was part of these witches, these Mayfair witches. And the last person he was attached to was the main character in the show, Rowan, her mother, played by Annabeth Gish. Alexandra Daddario plays Rowan. Lasher she ends up fulfilling a prophecy. Lasher's born as a child through her, so because he wants to become flesh again. As it turns out, you go back and you hear his story, and he was this actually not a bad being. He was a god that when his blood touched anything, or even when flowers would grow, crops would grow, but it was his blood that made this. So it's really crazy, because then in the movie, they've kind of have him marry this woman who was married to in a previous life, and he has children, but because everything grows, he's like life itself. His children, as soon as they're born, they're like 5 years old, like a couple hours later, which was kind of how he grew. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here, but in the film, these witches, in the series, these witches in Scotland, they just wanted his blood, right? So they kill him. Alexandra Daddario brings him back to life. Then they want to sacrifice his kids and drink their blood, so this is showing you TV, movies, it's all disclosure. It's telling you it's the blood of the gods. So you think he's this demon the whole time, but really, right, he was something else. And they can show you in these films how good can turn to bad, and because of power and greed, and right, it's more that this family wanted the power. Even Rowan liked having Lasher around because of how powerful she was when he was there. Even she was blinded by power. So again, all these shows, movies, it's all disclosure. Okay? So she's talking about Osiris. You guys know that story, I'm sure. But I just wanted to... here it is. The pole in the sky. Right? Here we go. This is the pole I was telling you about. There's a pole holding up the sky, right? It's holding up the dimensions. So these are like metaphors for what is happening right now. So we can't see the unseen realm. But I believe that these individuals that do black magic are trying to, call upon these archons to do their bidding. There's a channel on YouTube called Bible Story that really gets into a lot of this. And then I wanted to show you this one picture that she has of the it's also in the other book, but the god, it's like Baphomet. It's like this transgender being pulling chains with the heaven and the earth, pulling it down. They're trying to open these portals. They're trying to merge heaven and earth. They're trying to merge hell and earth. they want to open all these multi-dimensional doorways, right, to bring about the apocalypse. This is all you know, this is real stuff, guys. This is real stuff. But anyway, so you get the picture about, I can't seem to find it, about the pole that the demons were climbing, and on December 25th. They make it to the top of the pole on December 25th. And they're allowed to roam the earth until January 6th. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up Christian, Catholic. Don't do religion anymore. And I would leave my Christmas tree up, even up until this past Christmas, until January 6th. When did the chaos break out with the Trump administration thing, everything that happened January 6th, right? So I'm just saying, they love to do their rituals on certain days. Right now is the season of sacrifice. March and April. Here we go, right? These cults of Mithras and Cybele, and so anyway, I can't seem to find it, but I wanted to just real quick get into Hiram Abith. So what happens, right? Oh, and then this is another thing that something about Baphomet talked about blue apples. It's kind of cryptic, but when she was channeling Baphomet through this Ouija board, it spoke about blue apples, which mean blood sacrifice. And this was a sacrificial agio ritual at noon. You know what the agio board is? It's a chess board. So, that's what they call it. I spoke about this in the last video I did about clock shavings. So the allegorical journey of the initiation that Freemasons go through is said to be from darkness to light. At noon, when the sun is at the zenith, is when the architect Hiram Abith was purportedly killed in the Temple of Solomon, according to Masonic tradition. Consequently, this is when many of their important rituals always take place. This is also when the Merovingian kings, the King Dagobert, was also murdered, right, in the forest on December 23rd. So perhaps we were talking about a portal being opened ritualistically that involves a blood sacrifice at noon, probably on that date. And this was also the day that people thought the world was going to end back in 2012. So, I don't know. It's not very hard to connect these dots. I will tell you that. And, so anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about with the book. I wanted to see if I could find, and like, this is like, look, this is what I'm talking about. The blood of the gods, right? This Asher or Lasher in the Mayfair witches. His blood is sacred, right? We have Enki on the throne with the waters of life. What's the waters of life, right? Blood. Just insane. We got the lamb pouring out its blood. Angus D pouring the blood into the chalice. you know, just this, we have to break free of this. We can break free of all of this. Okay? They had us participate in their rituals for way too long, guys. Okay? It's time to get out now. Oh, here's the one. This was the one that I've been looking for. Right? The moon and the sun. The pulling down. It's Sophia. Now, we know about Sophia, right? Sophia pulling down the sun and the moon from their heights with the Gnostic chains of the archons. Right, let's talk about the archons real quick. There's another picture of it. Okay. Now, I wanted to this is going to be a tough one. The trans agenda, there's just another way of them getting us to participate in their Cybele Mithros cult. Right? Because Addis, once he was castrated, was from that moment on known as a woman. Right? And then, you know, Cybele was also a transgender. It's just, it's sick shit. By the way, have you guys ever seen, I'm sure you have, the Pope sitting with the giant serpent being, it's like a giant reptilian behind him. Have you ever seen that in slow motion where it's just the Pope and then they pan wide until you can see the reptilian, giant reptilian dragon serpent being behind him? It is the creepiest shit if you've ever seen that image slowly panned. I mean, it's like, wow. I just don't know what kind of slumber we've been in. It's very strange, but there's definitely something where I think they knew we were going to wake up, which is why they've ramped things up. It just seems like it's a rapid wake up. For, you know, a lot of us, you know, I see people who are still very much, you know, my guides, my angels, my dead Aunt Edna, you know, like still believing that these, oh my goodness, that these beings, it is freezing down this basement. It was like kind of chilly out tonight. I think it went down to 39. But, okay, now I can see you guys. When I read up close, I have to take my glasses off. When I'm far away, I need them on. So, very, very nearsighted. We can do this. We can get out of this. And they know it. They're scared of us. We're the true divine ones. We're the ones that truly have the power. And that's why they hate us. Okay? I guess I wanted to believe that there was this, you know, oh, we're going to ascend into 5D. Everything's going to be fine. The Galactics are going to come and save us. And, you know, I guess it never fully felt right. It just seemed too good to be true. So for me, it never fully really, but for the people who are completely immersed in Trump's going to save us, the Galactics are going to save us, the Council of Nine, the fucking, whatever the fuck, unicorns and rainbows and 5D, and we're gonna slide down the rainbow right into 5D. No. None of that is going to save you. And just know that it's you. You're the power. You have the power. You're the divine one. We save us. We get us out of here. I have a lot of other videos I want to do. I am so sorry that I took so long to do this. Not that I have so many followers, but I guess you know, I'm a procrastinator, and I do have a really busy life. But my apologies for taking so long to do this one. I think Tracy Twyman started to realize all this stuff. I think she was a true believer in the soul trap eventually. And she came to all these conclusions as well. And I think that's why they took her out. And they took her out in a time where people were still sort of like, there were some people that were already like kind of here now. Like, but back in 2017, I was totally, thought I was awake, but I wasn't. And I think they took her out in a time where there weren't enough people who knew this information to set off the alarm bells that would have been set off if they had taken her out now in 2025. So I do appreciate her work and to bringing all the stuff to light. And she did say that she felt called to do this work because she did feel like, and I believe she did come to realize that she probably came from these bloodlines as well. Please do not think that just because you were mistaken about a lot of things, more than likely, I think a lot of us have this blood in us, the dragon bloodlines, but do not think for a minute that that makes you one of them, or that makes you think that you can't get out of here, or, you know, whatever. And also it's meaningless, because this place is meaningless. So anything, the body, the blood, anything of this realm, you know, your eternal soul, your eternal essence is what's important. It doesn't fucking matter what family you came from, what bloodline you came from. That's them. That's their thing, right? In this, you know, when she's communicating with Cain, he says that they prefer to work within their bloodlines, which is why I think that they take their descendants into the programs, and the programs are real, by the way. You know, the SSP stuff, all that stuff is real. Just because I don't resonate with a lot of the new age stuff, or don't think that stuff is what we should be focused on, doesn't mean it isn't real. There's tons of government programs, and they do look for certain kinds of people. And trust me, we would be the ones that they would be looking for. Just real quick, and then I'm going to end this because it went way longer than I wanted it to. When I was a kid, I think I spoke about this before, I would see these three balls of light. I don't remember if they materialized or not. I know that my parents said that I would, like, and I was little, like really little, lock my bedroom door and like talk to these things for hours. And I gave them names because I couldn't say their real names. I gave them names that I, you know, could come up with at 3 years old. Lucy and Skinny Witch, and I could never say the other one's name. And my parents would say, "Oh, you're two imaginary friends," but I would always think in my head, no, there's 3, not 2. I just could never say I don't remember the third name that I gave the other one. But when I got older and I was going through my horrible years of detoxing from narcissistic abuse, from the relationship that I was in, I was able to go find their real names. And there were 3 angels in the Kabbalah. Now, you guys know how I feel about angels, right? And in the Kabbalah, there were, I saw someone do a fantastic video today about practices in the Kabbalah, like conjuring golems, right? These beings made out of clay that you can do your bidding for you, like murder people. There was actually an episode of the X-Files about that. But anyway, I found out there, and that blew me away, because when I said their names, I had no idea whatsoever that they were actual angels named in the Kabbalah. I just said their names out loud during a meditation and wrote their names down. And what do you do? This was probably back in, I don't know, 2013 or 2014. I Googled it. And it said that there were 3 angels in the Kabbalah, and I almost fell over. And I'm pretty sure that these things would take me without my family knowing. I know that's insane. I know that sounds crazy. But I've heard other stories of children saying that their family just almost didn't notice that, or they would be told to, I would be told to walk up into this little court alley when we had the shore home, and go into that alleyway, and they would take me, or they would come there and visit, and I don't know what they were doing, but I know that's the only thing that I know, and it's not even a memory. It's just, I just know that this happened. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that even that, they were using me for something, right? Because that's what they do. And I just think that they target you when they know you might wake up at some point, or have certain abilities, or whatever, or be a combination of those things and have a certain blood in you. I just think that that's what they do. So I'm not really sure. I can't answer. For whatever reason, the memory wipe thing works really well on me. I know some people still have done like regressions and stuff and remembered things, and I remember very little, and like bits and pieces, and I talked about the only things that I remember, and it's not much. So for whatever reason, the memory wipe thing, whatever technology they use to memory wipe you, works really well on me. And that's all I want to say about that. And we're at over an hour now. Wow. I think that I'm going to end this video now. But again, there are other children that have spoke about this happening to them as well, where their family didn't seem to be aware that this child is being like called away, or they're able to like paralyze the family. I'm not sure exactly what they do, but there was some crazy shit going on when I was a kid. And I wish I could remember the conversations, but I don't. But again, it comes right back to, we've been taken prisoner here, and I want to get the fuck out, and I hope you guys do too. And that's the most important thing. None of this other stuff matters. Not even this. I'm just giving you a history to show you what these beings do, and how they want to pull us into their little cult, and programming and all that stuff. That's the only reason, and I probably won't even be talking about this stuff much more. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry. I knew that there was one more thing. So the video that I was telling you about the golems, the guy who did research about the golems in the Kabbalah, and he got really into like Aleister Crowley, the Lima, and all, and he was basically saying that they took what was in the Kabbalah and distorted it. I don't think that they did. I think that people like Aleister Crowley and Diddy and Hollywood and all, I think that it may not be written in stores, books that you can buy in a store about the Kabbalah and whatever we know about it. I think that that stuff was going on then and is going on now. And I don't think that they distorted it or twisted it. I think this stuff gets passed down generationally. It's witchcraft. Okay? So, real quick, I'm so sorry. Again, I digress. He was speaking about these people that came forward against Diddy, and they were saying, and this fucking, wow. In the recording studio, when he was recording, when Diddy was recording, okay, forget about the sex magic stuff. That's a whole nother thing. He was lighting candles, okay, recording, and then having people chant. So some of these people that were just there, that were workers, that weren't involved in the ritual shit, saw this stuff happening. That means whatever music he was recording, okay, and don't think that this is something new. This has been going on forever too. This was going on back in the 60s. He's recording the music, and they're chanting and lighting candles and doing rituals and putting the rituals into the songs. They're putting the spells into the songs. They're chanting. And so this music that you're listening to, that these kids are listening to, this hip-hop, has got black magic spells attached to them. Put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it, okay? Real shit. Real fucking shit. And now I really got to end this. I love you guys. Bye.